I'll talk about comics to anyone who wants to, and I'm glad that at least some people want to, especially because it's the second year I'm doing this panel here. So yeah, I hope that it's still interesting because of course I'm going to talk about different comics than last year. There are way too many comics to not talk about every single one. Last year I spent most of my time talking about the Mirror World storyline and the Siege of the Crystal Empire, because I was very much simping for Sombra at the time. But this time I want to talk about different villains, about reformed villains. The Nightmare Knights. Nightmare Knights is a spin-off story. It's not in the main comic series, so it's 5 separate issues written by Jeremy Whitley, and I think the art is by Tony Fleeks, if I remember correctly. I'm very bad at remembering the artists. Yeah, written by Jeremy Whitley and art by Tony Fleeks, one of the best artists we have in the comics, like right next to Andy Price, of course. And Nightmare Knights is one of the most interesting storylines to me, because it puts all of our reformed villains together into a sort of Suicide Squad, which is basically what Jeremy Whitley pitched when he wanted to make this storyline. The Suicide Squad, but pony. But first we need to get into the setting, why they even have to work together. And that is because there's a new threat looming over Equestria that is not something that Domain 6 or Celestia should know about, because it's very much relating to our dear friend, the Shadow Pony, the Pony of Shadows. We all know the Pony of Shadows from Season 7, but there is more to it than we all know. Because there is more than one Pony of Shadows, because MLP has a multiverse. What would you expect from any long-running IP? At some point they'll go into the multiverse. They did it in the Sombra comics with the Reflection storyline already, but now this storyline explores shared memories between different ponies with the same name. In this case, Stygian. Stygian, he basically dreams the memories of an alternate version of himself. That alternate version is a Pony of Shadows that won. It's always interesting to see what happens when the villains actually win for once. And in this case, as you can see, Celestia and Luna beaten, and as we'll see later, the entire universe he's been in taken over, and Celestia controlled. When we go down to that universe has been transformed into a casino, basically. Yeah. And that casino is basically a hangout spot for villains across the multiverse. And we'll see a few of them in a bit, but for now, let me show you how to get in. Because only a few people are, it's a very exclusive club. Only for the most evil in all of the multiverse. If you're goody two-shoes, you're not allowed in there. And as you can see, some people, if they aren't allowed in there, are just going to get sent down and disappear into oblivion probably. We never see what happens to that pony, but I assume it isn't good. But if you're evil enough, like this dragon that just ate 3 ponies ahead of him, you're obviously allowed in there, just pure evil. But you're also allowed in there if you're a former villain, even if you regret what you're doing. Because for some reason, Stygian and Princess Luna are allowed in there. But at that point, only for investigative purposes. And as you can see, we have a lot of villains here from every different place and time. We see the Diamond Dogs, we see the Smooths. There is basically an evil queen from the Disney fairy tales. A T-Rex and a Scorpion, probably from a universe where Scorpion didn't betray T-Rex and he actually won. Garble, Chrysalis, even a pony version of, I assume that's Wallflower Blush, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, we see every kind of, oh wait, no, that's Gloriosa Daisy, my bad. Gloriosa from the Equestria Girls movies, from the fourth one specifically. We even have Babs Seed in there, and Babs' sister, who is evil in one universe. We see her in some Equestria Girls comics, but nowhere else except here, in that comic. Even the Shadow Balls, if they were real. I always thought that Lightning Dust would make a great Shadow Bolt. Yeah, even the bigger villains are around. Sombra, Nightmare Rarity, and another version of Rarity that we saw in another story in the comics. The comics love to reference themselves. That Rarity is in the Ponies of the Dark Water storyline, where the Dark Water corrupts the ponies and brings out the worst in them. And this is basically that Rarity. Obviously, Starlight Glamour, our dear Kelly Sheridan that we have here this weekend, and even Sunset Shimmer, and just a ton of random changelings. But yeah, the most important villain isn't any one of the ones here, but the one that runs the place. At this point, it might look like it's Celestia, but that is the point, because it's a trap for Luna. It's a trap as usual. Because who runs it is Princess Aries, Discord's cousin. It's basically another Draconicus, just one of just 3 Draconici we know. Discord, his toxic ex-Cosmos, and his cousin Ares. We also technically know Captain Good Guy, which is a good version of Discord in the Reflections comics, but that's a whole different thing. But yeah, she is the one who runs the place. Which is kind of weird because most people would expect the Pony of Shadows after the start of the storyline. But no, not the Pony of Shadows for now. For now we have Princess Aries who enslaved Daybreaker. I really love that they went with Daybreaker for this comic, because in the show we obviously don't see much of her. So this is finally an opportunity to use her more than just the one scene in the show. This comic is basically over with that, because it's mostly to set everything up. For example, she uses the staff the Storm King used, the staff of Sercanus, to drain Luna's power. And Luna without power is basically just worth nothing. At least that's what she thinks. Yeah. They managed to escape, just barely, but yeah. What are they supposed to do now that Luna is powerless and the mirror they used to travel there is still intact? So they might be facing an invasion of of the evil dimension, basically. But that's where the Suicide Squad but Pony idea comes in, because they need a team. They need a team to defeat this Princess Aries and the other Pony of Shadows. And that team is gonna get set up out of misfits and previous villains who were reformed. As you can see here, Trixie, Kappa, and Tempest were their choices for it. And I feel like they'd make as a Suicide Squad themed thing, it makes a great team. This comic is mostly to show how they got them all. For example, Kappa, who is at the moment working in Las Pegasus for Flim and Flam, they would also be very fitting for a team like that, but they are not really reformed, so yeah, they probably just get thrown in the corner. But yeah, they got Kappa from Las Pegasus. Kappa is even praised by Flim and Flam. He could sell everything. Even Flim and Flam acknowledged that. He could sell saddlebags to a Minotaur. But he is not the only one. But they want, but the first one. Oh yeah, and from the next one they get is Tempest, who is at the moment in the Crystal Empire, which is also another comic reference, because we get Tempest's tale in some of the comic issues, where we explore what she does after the movie. And she decides to go work in the Crystal Empire, basically, as together with her old friend Glither one of the ponies that she was friends with as a child. She basically reunites with her childhood friend. They are very much gay. But that's sadly not explored here, but more in the comic where it actually happens. Yeah, and Princess Luna acknowledged the strength of Tempest, because Tempest, while still having her broken horn, has one of the strongest offensive magic we've ever seen in MLP. Now imagine what she could do if her horn was intact. We'll see more of her feats later on, but for now, she can lend her knowledge to help them learn about the Staff of Serkanus. I think I mentioned the name before, that's the name of the staff of the Storm King. The name actually doesn't get mentioned in the movie, only in the following Equestria Girls special, where they work against the Storm King's magic. But yeah. But that's not the last person they want to recruit. They want Trixie too. I don't know why Trixie though. The only reason she is not strong, but she can be a good distraction. Her showmanship can definitely help to get everything out of everyone out of the way and distracted. And while the Yugs weren't really fond of her show, I think Luna will very much benefit from it. And of course, they need a plan, and that's what Stygian is for. Stygian was kind of slept on for most of the show. He was the strategist behind the pillars. So having him as a strategist for this operation just makes sense. And obviously they also get assigned with what they are doing. Trixie is the distraction, Tempest is the muscle, and I forgot what Kappa was. Okay, yeah, he is just there to try to deceive Eris, to get her to do what he wants. Yeah, title drop of the comic. Yeah, but that's where this comic almost ends. They still want to get into the Nightmare Castle again. And they can't just go as Luna and Stygian again, because they are pretty much banned after the last time they were there. So they have to get their own new personas. The Starry Night Terror, the Dark Horse, the Alley Cat, Maelstrom Shade, and the Great and Powerful Roxy. I don't know who she wants to fool with that, but apparently it works. Yeah, I mean there have been there were a few Trixies in that establishment, anyways. So yeah, and of course they have to get an epic group shot. Yeah, and it's time to get in. Oh, even Swan Gallop and more lightning dust. They just have every single villain or antagonist that was there just sitting there, just enjoying their life, and Eris just exploits them again just to get more money. It's a casino, so that's how it works. But that's where the issue really starts. The story really starts to pick up. We needed 2 issues to just get through the setup to get the team together. The table is so low. Yeah. They obviously get in and try to get their little distraction going. And Tempest is still very good at playing the villain. It hasn't been too long since her stuff with the Storm King, so she, just manages to play it very convincingly. But this place is still guarded by Daybreaker, which is still one of the most dangerous characters we've ever seen. But surprisingly, Tempest can hold her own. Sadly, we can't. Like, if you're holding a comic, you can actually see both of these right next to each other as panels. But sadly, we only have the PDF and not an actual comic with us. Yeah. I hope I'm not spoiling anyone about the characters too much, but if you're here, I assume you watched most of the show, so. Yeah. Just really interesting to see them fight off even the guard dogs. But that really doesn't last for long. They manage to hold out for a while, just get their plan through for a bit. But then Eris comes in. Because, well, she may have the muscle with her Daybreaker, with her little Daybreaker. She still has her own amazing abilities, which we have kind of seen already, because she works with nightmares. She just puts everyone in their worst eternal nightmare. In this case, Tempest goes back to being a child, a helpless child who can't do anything. And everyone gets put under one of these kind of spells. Not yet, but in a bit. But evil Twilight. That's perfect for Trixie to kind of just try to beat a showboating Twilight. I should have planned this better. But I thought just going through the comic would be fine. Yeah, they got away for a bit, but that doesn't last. Eris is still there. Eris is still trying to get them away. Even Kappa's the next one who gets trapped into his worst nightmare. Also, again, back to his child form, just as a scaredy cat running away from the Storm King's army. But this time she uses herself as like sort of, there's literally just Mercy from Overwatch, as a guardian angel to make herself seem as the savior. Stygian is also in his own little dream. And in his dream, he was the one who messed up everything for the pillars, which is kind of what he still thinks about it, all the events around it. It's enough, but again, Eris comes down, tries to be helpful, tries to deceive Stygian, but he is strong enough to get away, but Kappa isn't. At least that's what we think at first. Kappa kind of gives in to her little deception, while most others are just kind of tormented eternally. Kappa is now basically on Eris' side. That's what you get when you try to get villains together to help. You get backstabber after backstabber. And this backstabber isn't important right now, because we're back to Tempest. This comic's, the problem with many focus characters in the comic is that we jump around a lot, and after we saw Kappa being more deceived, we jump back to Tempest, who was able to free herself through her magic, and even confuse our dear Daybreaker, who, through the shocks of Tempest's magic, got out of the trance that she was put on under Eris. But yeah. At this point, Eris finally tells us her backstory. Well, not her backstory, but the story of how she got together with the Pony of Shadows. Because we saw at the start of the comic that the Pony of Shadows won his own little fight in his universe. But Eris wanted in on that. Oh, I need some water. Down for a bit. Sorry. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah, they wanted to. She proposed to work together at first, but that didn't quite work because the Pony of Shadows, for some reason, is able to defeat a fighting Draconicus, which is kind of a bit silly, but the main six were able to do the same with Discord. So being imprisoned is kind of the only way to defeat a Draconicus. Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, the show between Trixie and the evil trial is still ongoing. And Trixie actually wins. The first time she beat Twilight. Legitimately. But that doesn't matter if there's a basically all-powerful Draconicus goddess here. Poor Trixie just getting blasted away. Yeah. At this point, Eris finally comes back. But at this talking. But they obviously don't tell her immediately that she broke out of the trance. But try to deceive her. At this point, she tells us even more. We see even more of the deep dreams of even Luna now. It's really a good insight into most of these characters to see how they deal with their greatest shame. Yeah, but luckily Tempest at this point is out of the trance and is able to help. Is able to help. We only have one more issue to go through in this storyline, then I'll switch to something else. But this storyline is one of the biggest and the most important comics to me, because the story is really well written and it uses characters we barely see in the show. I also met the writer at last GalaCon, so I'm kind of biased. But yeah, Kappa is has still betrayed his friends and is working with Eris, but Eris doesn't really take him seriously. To Eris, he is just a little plaything, a little entertainer. So we'll see what will come from that. Meanwhile, we finally get some more talking. It's not like I talked enough already. Because this Daybreaker is really completely broken. Because her Luna was basically killed by Eris. They literally say Luna wasn't strong enough to resist the corruption, or to be properly corrupted. That's at least what Eris tells us. But that's why this Celestia has very heavy unresolved trauma about it, because her sister is fucking dead. But that gives them the opportunity to show her who Luna actually is. To kind of try to not deceive her, convince her to join their side. And it actually works. Kappa just being a trickster, just trying to entertain her. But Eris is not amused anymore. But as we kind of expect from Kappa, he is a double crosser. He crosses Eris again, just in a few minutes. Just scroll. Because, you see everyone is trapped, everyone was captured by Daybreaker. That's at least what Eris thinks. But we know, as the viewer, that Daybreaker is free herself. She was able to get rid of her collar through the powerful offensive magic of Tempest. That's again a show how strong Tempest actually is. The offensive magic that rivals fucking Daybreaker. And that's with her broken horn. We see it in the movie how strong she is, but we never really get it that strongly addressed. That was a thing. Yeah. But now that everyone is together with Daybreaker. I know what the thing was. I need to charge the fucking thing. My laptop is not what it used to be. It needs to be charged constantly. So excuse me for a second. That's the table tennis ball. I was expecting this to happen, but not so soon. I was allowed to put that in here, so I'm just gonna...
on the other side.
And
there's a completely empty one right there.
where?
Behind
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that. Thank you. Okay, now we should be fine. I hope. Yeah, it's charging. Okay, back to the most the fucking final fight. Of course, it had to happen during the final fight. We know Draconicus is almost all powerful, but with the help of Kappa's deception, because he was obviously never actually on Eris's side, he was able to get Luna's powers back and basically just depower the staff of Sakanas, which beats Eris basically. She is kind of way weaker than Discord. She doesn't actually use her own Draconicus powers. She just used the staff, which is kind of like a convention. They just use the staff. But yeah, she kind of tries to deceive again, plead for her life. But at this point she kind of is irredeemable. Or at least they don't try to redeem her. But that story is... But with that story is basically over. They had their little Suicide Squad moment, and if you want to read the entire thing yourself, there's way more to hear about than just my little skim through that I just did. I'm just mostly here to try to show you how much there is in the comics. And this is just one storyline. 5 issues is admittedly a long storyline. Usually the storylines are like 3 to 5 issues long, sometimes even just 2. But this is an entire spin-off series. We have a lot of those, but for now I want to switch to something else entirely. Because, as most of you might know, G5 has ended just a few days ago, or Telltale has ended. But there are still comics, and to me, the comics are the best part about G5. I don't know how many of you have heard about the Discord storyline in the main comics of G5. Because Discord is coming back again. Because Discord is a Draconicus and Discord is a Mortal. So why shouldn't he come back in G5? Now I need to just click the right issues. Because his first appearance is in the 2nd issue of the main story. The story we follow here is, in the 1st issue, the Unity Crystal that we all know from the New Generation movie was stolen, or at least part of it was stolen. Specifically the Pegasus part stolen. And they go on their journey to try and find where it was going. And after like a full-on longest journey, they make their way somewhere to the old ruins of Canterlot. We see Joe's Donut Shop that we know from the shop that Twilight and her friends ate in after the first gala. And we see even more like little things. Not many full-on references, but we get to the castle. Yeah. But the castle is full of traps, because why shouldn't the castle be full of traps? And that leads them below the castle, where we finally meet our old friend. I know many people aren't big fans of the connection between G4 and G5, but this is one of the best things that came out of the connection. This design of this con alone is just, it screams old and deranged. Just imagine, he has been living alone for centuries, basically. We don't know how long the time skip actually was, but we know it's been a fucking long time. And his lover is fucking dead, so everyone would kind of go a bit crazy after that. And he is no exception. You know he's a draconicus, he can basically control his appearance at will, but he still goes into this crazy ass design. I often hear the question of why this wasn't adapted into the show, and I think it's basically because you can't animate that in a 3D show in that powerful way. It could have gone into your tail, but even making a 2D model of this monster would take ages. Yeah, he has his little monologue, because he is this was for the longest time the only way to know something about the time between G4 and G5. Because he tells us about the fucking creation of the Unity Crystal. But yeah, at first he tells us about what everyone assumes is opaline, sowing chaos in between the normal ponies, making them think one tribe is better than the other, which is supposedly where the conflict of the G5 movie came from. And after Fluttershy got hurt and even more stuff happened, we still don't know what this fucking storm is. We kind of, people assume it's the Wendigos, but we can't really know it for sure, because this is the only panel we see it in. The truly terrible things happened. That is all we know about it. Just a giant storm destroying everything in sight. But that's why the Unity Crystals were created. By our heroes. This is just... And this is, all, again, the only time we hear about how they were made. There's... This one comic is kind of a jump started my YouTube career. I made a video on this comic, and it got a ton of views because people wanted to know what the fuck Discord is doing in G5. And what he's doing is giving us a ton of lore that is so cryptic that we still can't do much with it. It's all we know. It's not much, but it's the most important thing we've ever seen from the comics. Yeah. And he kind of has come to the conclusion that magic always was the problem. That the magic is what drove the tribes apart. So his conclusion is to destroy all magic. Here, a brilliant reference to the Marvel comics, No More Mutants, which is a very special event in the Marvel continuity, where Scarlet Witch, one of the most powerful entities in all of Marvel, just basically snaps her fingers and makes every mutant disappear. And he wants to do the same thing with magic. And for that he wants to destroy the crystal. But he doesn't have enough power to destroy the crystal on his own, so yeah, he has to do other things. But we'll see those other things in a bit, because I that's probably what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the panel, because I really love this storyline. Yeah, to be continued. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, which one was the next one? Was it 6? Yeah, this image is just already screaming. Yeah, it is from the. This is more like movie related than, but it looks more movie related than comic related. But as you saw, she only has the Earth Pony and the Pegasus Crystal, because Discord still has the the other one. Yeah, they are heavily investigating everything, and finally getting out of, like, finding more stuff in Canterlot. But their magic still doesn't work right. Obviously, with the crystals apart again, the magic doesn't work. They try to investigate more and more, but while all of that is going on, Izzy is kind of getting an identity crisis, because none of her friends help her that much. Like, most of them are like flying away and leaving her alone, which is making her very sad. But we'll see what that does to her in just a bit, because she goes off alone. But alone, she finds something important. And that important thing is this crystal. I don't know why G5 has such a thing for crystals. The Unity crystals, all the crystals in Bridalwood, and now this crystal. That crystal contains a message from Fluttershy. We didn't see much of the G4 ponies in G5. We saw some flashbacks just in the comic that I showed you before. We saw Twilight's appearance through the Unity crystals. And now we see Fluttershy. We don't actually see her completely, but she tells Discord, she tells us more about the past. Because she needs to tell him something. While he is out to destroy all magic, which has been his goal for the entire story, she just is home alone, worrying about him, because that is not what she wants. Discord obviously thinks he's doing this for Fluttershy, because for who else would he do it? That's his main motivation. Yeah, magic makes everyone different. Everyone is different. Equality is always preached, of course, but there are still differences. But Discord listened to this story, to this recording, but not long enough. He just heard that magic makes us different, but he never listened to the rest and heard that it's something that we should embrace. So he thinks for honor Fluttershy after her death, it's the best idea to just destroy all magic. Yeah. And Izzy is the only one who kind of feels with him. Poor Discord. Discord is this is not what Fluttershy would want. He is just a misguided soul, basically. I mean, that's a lot of Discord's character. It's kind of a rehash. He's misguided again. He wants to do evil again for a good cause. Basically like Season 9. And people didn't even like it in Season 9. In Season 9, people complained that he just went evil again, but for a good cause. But now he's doing it again. Yeah. And now we finally cut back to him. We barely see him in the comics. That's kind of a complaint I have with the G5 comics. In G4, you just have a storyline with issue after issue after issue, just in one go. But in G5, they just put filler in between the important issues. Issue 2 is important, issue 6 is important, then only issue 9 and 10 are important again. And everything in between is just filler. Well, not technically filler, but less important. But yeah, he went to the Basaltic Caves because that's the only place he knows of that can destroy this strong of a magic power as the crystal. Now issue 9. Yeah, I think this went around the internet pretty strongly when it was first shown. These covers are amazing, by the way, just gorgeous beyond belief. Yeah, they are still on their search for the Daring Do book that Discord has, because that Daring Do book explains how to get to those basaltic caves. And that's something they found out in the other issue. That's what he's searching for. And yeah, most of this issue is not that important. We just hear some conflict between the main 5 at this point. Misty doesn't exist at that point yet. Well, she exists somewhere with Opaline in some other part of Equestria. Those are by Rapunzel and Snow White, by the way. We love our little references. And they help our heroes with finding the missing Daring Do book. And they use the Daring Do book as instruction to find those basaltic caves where Discord is hiding. Yeah. Yeah. They make their way through the dangerous escapades that Daring Do apparently went through. It's kind of funny how many Daring Do books they show here, because that means that Daring Do just kept exploring and venturing. We know Daring Do books are actually what happens with her, but most of the world still thinks they are fantasy. But we see here once again how real it actually is. They even find Discord's tracks here at the point where it led them. Yeah, they make their way and finally find Discord again. And this is the 9th issue. The first issue I showed you was issue 2. They took like 7 issues to get here, because most of these issues are fucking filler. Yes, I'm kind of salty about it, because that was such a pain when they released. Every month we were waiting for a new issue, and we were just getting more and more, basically just filler episodes, just to get these little pieces in issue 2, 6, 8, and 9 and 10. Yeah. And then 9 doesn't even show much. They just make their way to Discord and then get trapped. Like, you saw how fast I just went through issue 9. Because the actual fun stuff happens in issue 10. Yeah. Another amazing cover. Just Discord accepting whatever they are going to talk about in just a second. And finally, like, coming to terms with everything. And you see the little butterflies in pink and yellow, just Fluttershy colors. It's just a cute thing to symbolize him accepting her passing on. Ignore the Yay Ponies page in every single one of these. Yeah. Just right where we left off, with everyone captured and trying to escape. I skipped over most of the character moments, but they get some good character development for especially Sunny and Izzy in this one. But that's something to discuss another day, because right now I want to discuss the big lore things. Because there's one more panel that many of you might have seen if you kept up with G5, even if you don't like the comics. There's one thing that most people have seen. They sneak back to Discord most of this storyline is just, I want to get to Discord, I want to get to Discord, I want to get to Discord. Which is fun if you like just read through them in one by one, but if you have a ton of issues in between there, it just sucks. Yeah. And here you can tell again, he thinks he's doing all of that for Fluttershy. I'll always protect the quest where you believed in Fluttershy. Yeah. But Discord still has his magic. He doesn't want to actually hurt them. Like if he wanted to kill them, he just would snap his head and kill them. But he just wants to like keep them away from his own his plan. This is like the most dangerous thing he did, leaving them next to lava. Whereas it's technically inside the cave, so it's technically magma, I think. But yeah, that's just him finally. This is the closest thing he does to hurting them, because he doesn't want to hurt the ponies. He thinks what he's doing is for the ponies. This is, yeah. This is what he, but then he finally hears what he needs to. Because obviously it's the age of phones. They recall Fluttershy's message again, and now he finally gets to hear her voice again. You can see him crying. He doesn't want, like, this is fucking torture for Discord. Hearing the voice of your dead wife. But then we get to this one, this panel. She wants him to know that the magic does make them different, but it's something they should embrace. And he finally learns that only when Fluttershy tells him. This panel is like the most heartbreaking thing I've seen of in the G5 comics. Many people just assumed it was a ghost for some reason, but which I get out of context. Out of context, this could just be a ghost. But yeah, it's in this case it's just symbolism. It's symbolizing her like giving him one last push, one last piece of advice to get him to understand what is actually important, which is not getting rid of magic, but embracing the magic they have and embracing the differences, which is honestly something the fucking fandom could learn from. That's just a short rant that the comics actually pick up on a lot. Differences are important. Differences are what makes us us. And this fandom has a lot of different opinions, a lot of different things. There is a difference between G4 fans and G5 fans a lot of the time. And I hate that split at this point. People just split between G4 and G5 fans and harass each other relentlessly. I'm not talking about everyone, but there are a few loud people just complaining on both sides, and it's just, this is something they need to learn from. G4 and G5, and as well as the differences in magic, just make us who we are. Fluttershy uses the example of who would Rainbow Dash be if she couldn't fly? Who would Rarity be without her magic to sew and use it to make her dresses? Or even Twilight without magic? What would she be? This is part of their character. This is part of their personality. They need that to evolve and just be themselves. And using Fluttershy as like a conduit and just to finally tell him how it actually is supposed to be is, yeah, finally helping them to put everything back together and making magic return to everyone. Yeah, and even Sunny and and Izzy learn something from it. They kind of had trouble doing the storyline with their differences because, for example, Izzy can't fly, obviously. She just can't. And they, instead of embracing those differences, they complained about it. They fought because of it. But at the end, they came together and decided, yeah, we learned from this experience. At the end, Discord is just kind of part of the group. But sadly, this is the last time we'll ever see him. Not even the comics keep exploring him, which is kind of sad. It's kind of disappointing to just have this character back in G5 and never see him again. We have, this is for me, the best way they connected G5 to G4. There's still one comic left that is releasing at the moment, the Storm of Zephyr Heights story, also written by the same writer that wrote the Nightmare Knights comics that I showed you earlier. That is also going to connect G4 and G5 again more. If I still have time, I would talk about that one. I don't remember when my time is technically ending, but yeah, I'm just gonna quickly talk about that. Give me a second to find that in my very well organized files. Sometimes you can over-organize because it then takes longer to find the proper thing. There it is. The Storm of Zephyr Heights, which brought back some of the best G4 comic workers that we had. Jeremy Whitley and Andy Price. Andy Price came back to My Little Pony for this story. This story doesn't really show that much yet because only this issue is out. We only know, but there are still 2 more long-form issues to come. But yeah, in this story, I'm going to zoom in a bit. In this story, Zip has to be queen for a week because Queen Haven kind of needs a vacation at this point. She's just working relentlessly for her kingdom, and she needs some alone time with her Alpha Little. Still a shame that we will never get a wedding episode. Yeah. But yeah, at least we know they go on vacation together at this point. But yeah, that's why Zip is just left alone to rule the kingdom for a week. But obviously we're an MLP. Nobody's ever truly alone. So her friends come and help her out. And we finally have Misty in the comics. Misty appears in the comics for the first time, like in issue 12 or something of the main series. They do take their sweet time with that. Because the comics released mostly earlier than Make Your Mark as a thing. Just, yeah. And you might recognize the art style as Andy Price's art style. Andy Price is, in my opinion, still the best comic artist that we had for G4. And he, and together with Jeremy Whitley, put a ton of references in this entire comic. This comic is really just a testament to how well G4 and G5 can be connected if you do it right. Like, if you just look at this little thing, because there are a ton of books. We love our books. Love at Twilight. That is not a reference, but it's funny. Unicorns of Ord, which is another comic another spin-off comic that Jeremy Whitley also co-wrote in some parts. As I said, the comics love to reference themselves. Then we have The Return of Queen Chrysalis, which is the very first storyline the MLP comics ever put out. The Wrath of Gummy, which is not a reference, but it's really nice to have like a book know that Gummy went down in history for his wrath. Quantum physics. I don't know why you would want quantum physics in your MLP book, but that's okay. Little Phillies, which is another comic reference. Yeah, they have a lot of comic references in here. And then The Lost Years. I assume that's just to tease the fandom. We don't know what it actually is, but there are the lost years between G4 and G5 that we don't know what happened in. So I feel like that is just their way of saying, yeah, we know what happened in these years. You will never know. Yeah. But this is just the start of the books, because there will be more. if I scroll down a bit further. But yeah, everyone gets their own little thing to do in the palace. She gets into the royal crafting room. There are the Zephyr Heights royal gardens. There's another bit again. Yeah, even a tiger. Like, finally, non-winged animals. Oh, even Greasies. Even Greasies in the royal garden. But yeah, back to funny books. The pop-up book of terrifying things, which is interesting to me because the most terrifying things that we've seen in MLP were drawn by Andy Price, the guy who drew this comic. The Fall of the House of Apple. So something happened with the Apple family after we left them. And the Case Against Beats. No idea what that is. I don't know how many references they put in, but there are a ton. 10,000 Recipes Nobody Wants. The Songwa Saga Volume 37. We love talking about Songwa, and this is an especially nice reference because issue 37 of the main Friendship is Magic comics is part of the Siege of the Crystal Empire storyline, which is Songwa's Reformation storyline that I talked about last year at my panel. We have the Necronomicon, the care and feeding of Yeti, of a Yeti. I assume that's something that Fluttershy has written. I don't know what Frazetta is. That is beyond me. But there are, I assume, the other volumes of the Songwa saga. 1 to 6. And a history of the party canon. I assume written by Pinkie Pie. Yeah. Coffee tables, nothing special, and Winnieland. The Lost Legends of Winnieland. Winnieland is a location from one of the Legacy gens. I don't actually know which one. 1, 2, or 3, something like that. I'm still at the start of my journey with 1, 2, and 3. Then we have the Legend of the Bad Ponies. The Bad Ponies is something that only the comics really talked about more. We had the one episode in the show, some appearances of the Bad Pony Guard, but then we had an extra comic storyline where the Bad Ponies appeared again. It's the comics love to reference themselves once again. More stuff about Star Swirl. Then Jane Way Was Wrong. I don't know what that is. Just more funny things. Then we have even more books. There are so many books and I love it. Cosmos being another Draconicus. Discord's toxic ex-girlfriend. Discord is the embodiment of chaos, and Cosmos is the embodiment of malice. She is part of one of the best comic storylines that we've ever had. Yeah. Then, wait, how much time do I technically have?
10 more minutes maximum.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I'll end whenever, so just let me know. I can talk about this comic until it's over. Yeah. We have Life on the Moon, I assume written by Luna. Earth Pony History, Party Planner, a Party Planner book. There are so many interesting books here. Even Unicornia, which is even more old gen stuff. Detecting Gems for Fashion, something that supposedly Remedy could write. The Photography of Photo Finish. I assume she wrote that herself. I don't think somebody actually wrote a book about her photography. Yeah. Are zebras real? That is a question that MLP fans have asked for ages because the show only shows one zebra, and only in the extra material like the Journal of the Two Sisters and the Season 10 comics we see more zebras. And yeah. And even a book about Cloudsdale. And Cloudsdale is what the point of the story is going to be about. Because according to Jeremy Ridley, the writer of the story, this story will make us meet, or at least in some way meet, Rainbow Dash, or one of the old G4 ponies. And I assume it's going to be Rainbow Dash. yeah, the Cloudsdale ponies, or like the Zephyr Heights ponies for now, just don't even think it's real. They think it's just a myth. But we know better than them. Yeah. Another reference with a British cutie mark, just randomly on the weather forecast. Yeah, but that is it for most G4 references. But the last thing we see in this comic is still there's a giant cloud forming over Zephyr Heights. A giant cloud that we don't know how it appeared. The story starts with the storm appearing, and it's supposedly still like a week away, so she would have to deal with it. But it suddenly moved closer. It suddenly moved closer to Zephyr Heights, and now everything has to evacuate, which is a very interesting start for Zip's time as queen. And that is basically where the show, where this comic leaves off. Yeah, everything is dangerous, everyone is almost dying, and we'll see how the story gets continued when the next issue of these releases. And yeah, I hope my rambles were at least a bit interesting, and I think the next panel is supposed to start in a few minutes. So thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. I hope you are inspired with some of you to read the comics yourself, but I feel like this was my worst panel performance yet. So yeah, we'll see.